the door that shouldn't open. The city stood in absolute stillness, trapped in a moment that refused to move. Cars remained frozen in the middle of the street, traffic lights glowed endlessly red, and even the falling rain seemed suspended in the air like shards of glass. In the center of that impossible silence, something appeared that should not have existed. A single black door standing alone in the middle of the road. It belonged to no building. There were no walls, no frame, no explanation. It simply stood there, as if reality itself had placed it in his path. The main character approached slowly, every instinct warning him to turn back. Yet the deeper fear was not the door itself, but the need to know what was beyond it. When his hand touched the cold metal handle, the silence around him seemed to deepen. He opened it. Inside was not a room, nor another street, but a glowing digital interface suspended in darkness. Endless lines of text scrolled across floating panels, system data, version histories, and strange parameters he could barely understand. Then one line appeared in front of him, User Action Log. Below it, the truth unfolded. Version 17.3, rollback, confirmed. Version 17.4, anomaly detected. Version 17.5, pending user decision. And suddenly he realized the frozen world was not an accident. It was a system waiting for his choice. The world in stasis. At first, he thought it was only a strange silence, the kind of silence that falls over a city just before dawn when the streets are empty and the world has not yet fully awakened. But this was different. This silence had weight. It pressed against his ears, against his chest, against every thought that tried to form in his mind. He stood in the middle of the street, breathing hard, trying to understand what had happened. Everything around him had stopped. Cars were frozen in place, their headlights cutting pale beams through the mist. A bus stood motionless at an intersection, its doors half open, as if someone had just stepped out moments before time itself had been ripped away. The traffic lights above glowed a steady red, unchanged, unblinking, refusing to move to green. He turned slowly. People filled the sidewalks, but none of them moved. A woman stood reaching into her handbag, her fingers forever inches from the zipper. A man in a dark coat was caught mid-step, 1 foot hovering above the pavement. Nearby, a child laughed silently, face tilted upward toward a balloon that no longer rose. Even the balloon remained suspended in the air, his breath caught in his throat. This was not stillness, this was stasis. He moved closer to the child, almost afraid to look too closely. The child's eyes were bright, full of life, but they did not blink. There was no shift in expression, no subtle movement of breath, no tremor of muscle. Like statues. No, worse than statues, because these were people, real people. Paused. He reached out, his hand trembling, and touched the sleeve of the man in the coat. The fabric was cold, unnaturally cold, as if it had been left outside in winter for hours. The man did not react. No flinch, no breath, no sign that anyone was truly inside. The main character stepped back, his pulse hammering in his ears. The city around him felt wrong in ways he could not explain. A newspaper page hung in the air beside a newsstand, lifted by a gust of wind that no longer existed. Rain droplets remained suspended above the road, sparkling under the streetlights like fragments of crystal. One droplet hovered inches from his face, perfectly still. He stared at it in disbelief. Then, cautiously, he touched it. The droplet broke apart against his fingertip and fell. For a brief second, the sound of water hitting the pavement echoed through the empty street. Then silence returned. His mind raced. Was he dreaming? Had something happened to the world? A gas leak? A hallucination? Some kind of mass hypnosis? But none of it explained why he alone could move. He began walking. Every footstep sounded impossibly loud, echoing off glass buildings and silent storefronts. The city that was once alive with noise now felt like a giant abandoned stage set after the actors had vanished. Yet they had not vanished. They were all still here, trapped. He passed a cafe where coffee hung frozen mid-pour from an overturned cup. A taxi stood in the road with its driver staring blankly ahead, hands locked on the wheel. Above, a flock of pigeons remained suspended in the gray sky, wings spread in a motion they would never finish. The deeper he walked into the city, the more unsettling the stillness became. Nothing moved. Nothing changed. Time itself had become a prison, And somehow, for reasons he did not understand, he was the only one left outside its bars. That was when fear truly began to settle in. Because silence can hide many things. But a world that has stopped moving hides something far worse. It hides intention, as if someone or something had pressed pause and forgotten to press play again. The door. He did not see it at first. The city had become a maze of frozen moments, every street corner holding another impossible scene. People trapped mid-step, cars suspended in motion, rain hanging like crystal in the air. His mind was already overwhelmed by the silence, by the suffocating weight of a world that no longer moved. Then something changed. At the far end of the street, beneath the pale flicker of a failing street lamp, there was a shape that did not belong. A door. He stopped walking. For a long moment, he simply stared. It stood alone in the middle of the road, upright and perfectly still, as if planted there by an invisible hand. There were no walls around it, no building connected to it, no alleyway or entrance hidden behind it, just a single black door, standing in open space. Its surface was smooth and matte, absorbing what little light the street lamp gave off. It was ordinary in shape, tall, rectangular, almost elegant in its simplicity. But in this silent, frozen world, its very normality felt deeply unnatural. The city around it looked broken. The door looked deliberate. He approached slowly, each step echoing across the empty street. The closer he came, the more impossible it seemed. He circled it once. There was nothing behind it, no frame connected to any structure, no visible support. It simply existed, anchored in reality by rules he could no longer understand. His breathing grew shallow. A thought crept into his mind, cold and unwelcome. What if this was not part of the city at all? What if it had been placed here for him? The street lamp above buzzed faintly, its light flickering across the door's black surface. For a brief moment, he thought he saw something move within the reflection. Not his face, but another version of himself standing perfectly still. He turned sharply. No one was there. When he looked back, the reflection was gone. Only the door remained. He reached out cautiously. The surface was colder than metal should have been, colder even than the frozen rain hanging around him. It felt less like touching an object and more like touching the edge of something vast and unknowable. He ran his fingers across it, searching for a seam, a lock, anything that could explain its presence. Nothing. No keyhole, no handle. His pulse quickened. For a moment, he considered walking away. Perhaps this was a trap. Perhaps the city itself was warning him. But curiosity had already taken hold. Every unanswered question in his mind seemed to lead here. Why had time stopped? Why was he the only one still moving? Why did this door feel as if it had been waiting? As if responding to the thought, a metallic sound cut through the silence. A click. He froze. From the center of the black surface, a handle slowly emerged. It did not swing into view from the side like a normal door handle. Instead, it seemed to rise out of the door itself, as though the material had reshaped itself around his presence. A smooth silver handle, cold, perfect, waiting. His breath caught in his throat. The city remained motionless behind him. The rain still hung in the air. The traffic lights still glowed red. Everything around him felt paused. But this door was alive. He stared at the handle for several seconds, his hand hovering inches away. Every instinct screamed at him not to touch it, to turn around, to keep walking. Yet beneath the fear was something stronger. The sense that whatever truth existed in this impossible world lay on the other side. Slowly, he wrapped his fingers around the handle. It was freezing cold, sending a shock up his arm. The moment he touched it, the street lamp above him went dark. The entire block fell into shadow. Only the outline of the door remained visible. His heart pounded. Then, from somewhere beyond the silence, he heard something impossible. A faint mechanical hum, like machines waking up, like a system booting. His eyes widened. This was no ordinary door. It was an entrance, a threshold. Not merely between places, but between realities. He tightened his grip. For one final moment, he hesitated. Behind him was the world he knew, broken and frozen. Ahead of him was something unknown, something that should not exist, something that should never open. And yet, it had appeared for a reason. With a trembling hand, he slowly turned the handle. The metal groaned softly. The door opened inward. Beyond it, there was no room. No hallway, no darkness, only a strange white glow spilling into the silent street. And in that light, lines of text flickered like ghosts. He had found the answer, or perhaps the beginning of something far worse. What was inside? The moment the door opened, the silence of the frozen city changed. Until then, the world had been still in the most terrifying way imaginable. No sound, no movement, no sign of life beyond his own footsteps. But now, as the door slowly swung inward, another sound emerged from the white glow beyond it. A low mechanical hum, soft at first, then growing louder, steady, rhythmic, like the pulse of an enormous machine hidden somewhere in the dark. He stood motionless at the threshold, unable to breathe. What waited on the other side was not a room, not a corridor, not another street. It was a void, a vast, endless darkness illuminated by floating panels of light. For a moment his mind refused to understand what he was seeing. There were no walls, no floor, no ceiling. Yet somehow space existed. An invisible platform extended beneath his feet, allowing him to step forward into the impossible. The air felt colder here, sharper, tinged with the faint scent of ozone and static electricity. As soon as he crossed the threshold, the door behind him shut with a slow, final click. He turned. The black door was still there, now suspended alone in the darkness, disconnected from the city he had left behind. Then it vanished. Not faded, vanished, as if it had never existed. A wave of panic rose in his chest. He spun back toward the glowing void. Dozens of translucent screens hovered in the air before him. No visible wires, no supports. Each panel pulsed with streams of moving text, diagrams, coordinates, and symbols he could not immediately understand. Some looked like system diagnostics. Others resembled maps, timelines, or fragments of code cascading downward in endless columns. Numbers changed in real time. Dates shifted. Lines rewrote themselves. Entire sequences appeared, deleted, and reappeared in altered forms. It was less like entering a place and more like stepping inside the mind of a machine. He took another cautious step. The invisible floor beneath him responded with a faint ripple of light, spreading outward in concentric circles. Immediately, the nearest screen brightened. A sharp tone echoed through the void. Then words began to form. User presence detected. He froze. The text remained suspended before him. A second line appeared. Authorization level, unknown. His heartbeat quickened. "Who's there?" he whispered. His voice sounded strange in the darkness, absorbed almost instantly by the surrounding emptiness. No answer came, only the hum, only the screens. Then, without warning, every floating panel shifted at once. They turned toward him. Like eyes, a sudden pulse of white light burst across the void, forcing him to shield his face. When the brightness faded, the scattered screens had reorganized into a single massive interface stretching far into the darkness. Rows of information filled the display. System parameters, reality stability index, temporal lock status, memory archive access. His breath caught. Reality, temporal lock, memory archive. The words sent a chill through him. This was not a building, not a hidden laboratory, not even a physical place. This was a control interface for the world. He moved closer to the largest screen. At its center, a timeline extended horizontally across the display, segmented into numbered intervals. Version 15.1, version 16.0, version 16.8, version 17.2. Each point on the timeline pulsed faintly. Some were green, others flashed red. One section flickered violently as though corrupted. Above it, a warning message repeated, "Anomaly cascade detected." His eyes narrowed. Then he saw something even worse. Embedded within the timeline were snapshots, moments, images of the city, the same street, the same people, the same rain frozen in the air. But in each version, something was different. In one, the sky was clear. In another, the buildings were damaged. In another, the streets were completely empty. Multiple realities, multiple iterations, as if the world had been rewritten again and again. His pulse pounded in his ears. Then a smaller screen detached itself from the larger display and floated directly in front of him. Its border glowed red. The text began typing itself slowly, one character at a time. User action log. He stared at it. A cold dread spread through his body. The log expanded. Several entries appeared. Version 17.3 rollback confirmed. Version 17.4 anomaly detected. Version 17.5 pending user decision. He read the lines once, Then again. Rollback. Confirmed. Someone had reset the system. Someone had chosen to undo whatever had happened. His mind raced. Then another line appeared, slower than the others, more deliberate. Last confirmed user unknown. A pause. Then the screen flickered. The letters rewrote themselves. Current active user. He stumbled backward. No, the word escaped his lips before he could stop it. This was impossible. He had never seen this place before. He had never touched any system. He had never made any decision. Had he? Fragments of memory flashed across his mind. The same street, the same silence, the same door. A feeling of deja vu so strong it nearly dropped him to his knees. What if this was not the first time? What if he had stood here before? What if every memory he possessed was only the latest version after countless resets? The screens around him began to flicker more violently. The hum deepened into something closer to a heartbeat. Then a final panel appeared in front of him, larger than the rest, brighter. At its center were 4 options: restore previous timeline, continue current anomaly, delete memory archive, open next door. His breathing became shallow. The void around him seemed to stretch infinitely outward. Somewhere in the darkness, another door slowly materialized, tall, black, silent, waiting. And for the first time he understood the terrible truth. The frozen world was not broken, it was paused, waiting for him to decide what happened next. The log. The red-bordered screen hovered in front of him, suspended in the endless darkness like a judgment waiting to be delivered. For a moment, he could only stare. The words user action log burned against the black void, bright and cold, their glow reflecting in his eyes. Around him, the larger system panels continued to hum and flicker, but everything else seemed to fade into the background. This screen mattered. This was the answer, or perhaps the beginning of something worse. The first line typed itself slowly, each letter appearing with a sharp mechanical click. Version 17.3, rollback confirmed. He frowned. Rollback. The word felt technical, sterile, yet terrifying. A rollback meant reversal, a return to a previous state, a reset. His mind immediately went to the frozen city outside, the people locked in place, the endless red traffic lights, the rain suspended in the air. Had it all happened before? Had something gone wrong so badly that reality itself had been reset? His chest tightened. Then the next line appeared. Version 17.4, anomaly detected. This time the text flashed crimson. A warning pulse spread across the screen, briefly illuminating the void around him. Anomaly. The word seemed to echo inside his head. Something that should not exist. Something outside the expected pattern. Something wrong. His thoughts raced. Was the anomaly the frozen world? The door? This impossible interface? Or was the anomaly him? The hum surrounding him deepened, vibrating through the invisible floor beneath his feet. More text began streaming down the sides of the display. Memory inconsistencies detected, temporal continuity unstable. User awareness threshold exceeded. He felt his breath hitch. User awareness. That meant someone had become aware of the system, aware of the truth. Then came the final line, the one that made his blood run cold. Version 17.5, pending user decision. The words remained steady. No flashing, no warning, just waiting. As if the entire system had paused on this exact moment, waiting for input, waiting for choice, waiting for him. He took a step closer, his reflection faintly visible in the glowing surface of the screen. User decision, he whispered. His own voice sounded distant, unreal. A cursor blinked beneath the log. Then a new line began to type. Current active user. It paused for a single unbearable second. Then the final word appeared. His heart nearly stopped. A wave of dizziness hit him so hard he staggered backward. No, that's impossible. He shook his head, staring at the screen as if the words might rearrange themselves, but they did not. They remained fixed, cold, certain. Fragments of memory flickered through his mind, walking through the silent city, seeing the frozen people, the black door. But beneath those memories, there was something older, a shadow of another moment, the same interface, the same red screen, the same blinking cursor. His breathing became uneven. Had he been here before? The thought hit him like a blade. What if this was not the first time he had entered this place? What if version 7.3 had been his choice? What if he had already rolled the world back once? The log suddenly expanded. Additional entries scrolled upward from below, older versions emerging from the darkness. Version 16.9, memory wipe, confirmed. Version 17.0, timeline restore, partial. Version 17.1, user exit failure. Version 17.2, containment mode. His eyes widened. There were too many versions, too many decisions, too many actions, and every one of them suggested the same horrifying truth. This cycle had repeated, again and again and again. He looked up at the surrounding panels, and for the first time, he noticed something hidden within the system's reflections. Images, snapshots, different versions of himself. In one, he was standing at the door. In another, he was reaching toward the screen. In another, he was turning away in fear. Each image timestamped with a different version number. His knees nearly gave out. These were not simulations. These were records, proof. He had been here before. The system had not chosen him. It remembered him. A new message suddenly appeared across the center of the log, larger than the rest. Final user decision required. Below it, 4 options materialized one by one. Restore previous version, continue anomaly state, delete user memory, open next door. The last option pulsed softly, open next door, as if this entire place was only another threshold, another layer, another version. The cursor blinked again. Then a final line typed itself beneath the options. Warning, choice will overwrite current reality. Silence swallowed the void. The hum became a deep mechanical heartbeat. And standing there, staring at the log of decisions he no longer remembered making, he realized the most terrifying truth of all. The frozen world outside was not broken, it was paused, because somewhere in the past, or perhaps many times before, he had already chosen. And now the system wanted him to choose again. The twist reveal. The screen pulsed once, then everything changed. The red glow of the user action log faded into a cold white light, and every floating panel in the void turned toward him at the same time. The endless darkness around him seemed to come alive, as if the entire system had been waiting for this exact moment. A low mechanical tone echoed through the space. Then a new message appeared across the center of the main display. Truth layer unlocked. His breath caught. The words dissolved, replaced by a stream of images flashing too quickly for his mind to process. Streets, buildings, faces, doors, fragments of memories that felt both familiar and impossible. Then the images slowed. He saw himself, standing in the same city, the same street, the same frozen rain. But in this memory, he was not confused. He was calm, focused. He was standing in front of the black door with his hand already on the handle. The screen labeled it, version 17.3. The memory played forward. He opened the door, entered the void, read the log, and then, without hesitation, selected rollback. The scene shattered. Another memory appeared. Version 17.4. This time the city was different. People moved, cars passed, the sky was bright, but something was wrong. Every face he looked at seemed blurred, as if the system had failed to fully render reality. The buildings trembled at their edges. Street signs changed names when he looked away. Then he saw himself again. This version of him was panicking, running through the city, looking over his shoulder as if something was chasing him. The screen flashed red. Anomaly detected. The memory froze. His heart pounded. He understood now. These were not random system logs. These were records of his previous choices, his previous selves, different versions of the same reality, different versions of him. A final memory emerged from the darkness, unlabeled, unstable. The image flickered violently. He was once again standing in the void. But this time he was not alone. Another figure stood beside him, a silhouette, same height, same posture, same face. Him, or another version of him. The double leaned closer to the interface and whispered something he could not hear. Then both versions turned and looked directly at him through the screen. A chill ran down his spine. The message beneath the memory appeared slowly. Primary anomaly identified. The text paused. Then the final words typed themselves in glowing red letters. You are not the user. His entire body went cold. No. The word barely escaped his lips. Another line appeared. You are the remnant of version 17.4. The void around him trembled. Screens flickered. The hum became deafening. In an instant, the truth slammed into him. He was not the original. He was not the one making the choices. He was what remained after the rollback failed. A fragment. A consciousness left behind when reality was reset, a version of himself that should have been deleted. The anomaly was never the city, never the door, never the frozen time. It was him. He looked at his trembling hands, horror flooding every thought, every memory he had, every moment he believed was real, every decision. All of it was residual code, a leftover consciousness from a version that no longer officially existed. Then the final panel opened. Bright, centered, unavoidable. Original user status active. Beneath it, a second black door materialized in the darkness, and from the other side, slow footsteps approached. He stared at the door as the handle slowly turned, because the most terrifying twist was no longer what the system revealed. It was who was about to walk through, himself. Cliffhanger. The handle turned. Slowly, deliberately, the sound of metal scraping through the silence echoed across the void like a blade drawn in the dark. He stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe, his eyes locked on the second black door. Then it opened. A figure stepped through, same height, same face, same eyes. Him. But this version was different. Calm, unshaken, as if he had been here many times before. The original stepped forward, illuminated by the pale white glow of the interface. His expression was unreadable, almost empty, yet there was something terrifyingly familiar in the way he moved, like someone returning to finish unfinished work. The screens around them flickered violently. A new warning flashed above, version conflict detected. The original looked at him and for the first time, smiled, a slow, knowing smile. Then he spoke. "You were never supposed to survive the rollback." The words hit like ice. Before he could respond, every panel in the void lit up at once. Final decision required. Two options appeared. Delete anomaly, merge versions. The cursor blinked. Waiting. The original stepped closer, stopping only inches away. "If you choose wrong," he whispered, "this world ends with both of us." Then the entire void began to shake. Cracks of white light spread through the darkness like fractures in glass. In the distance, the frozen city outside began to collapse, buildings flickering, streets distorting, time itself unraveling. A countdown suddenly appeared above them. System collapse in 30 seconds. One choice, one reality, and one terrifying question remained. If only one version of him could exist, which one was real?
Shadows crawl